As much as I love Kaleidescape and I use it a ton in my home theater, there's always room for improvement with companies and products and so on. So let's talk about a few things that I think they're kind of getting wrong, or concerns that I might have about Kaleidescape as a platform, and what, in my opinion, maybe could be done about each of them. So if you want to learn more about Kaleidescape in general, I recommend checking out a variety of the other videos around the channel where I've done unboxings and overviews and deep dives and all of that stuff. So I want to make this video a little more focused on what are some areas of concern that I have about Kaleidescape as being a Kaleidescape customer, about the platform, about its future, about some of the things they're doing, some of the things that they're not doing. Let's roll through a handful of these things and kind of break each one down a little bit. So I'll start with the first one. I think it's the most obvious one, the one that people usually get most emotionally charged about when it comes to Kaleidescape, and that's the price. And when I'm talking about price, right now I'm talking about basically price of entry into the platform. So recently they changed their product lineup. You can no longer get a standalone Strato S 6TB or 12TB player. It's the player and the storage together in one. You now have to buy the separate units. You have to buy the Strato C, and you have to buy some kind of a Tera. And that, in conjunction with price increases and so on, has really moved the needle very strongly up in terms of the cost of entry on the platform rather than down. And if I looked back a couple years ago to where things were with the products and the company and where they are today, it is much more expensive to get into a Kaleidescape system today than it was before, and that it looked like, you know, it was trending. So a Strato S 6TB would have cost like MSRP $59.99, $6,000. Maybe you could have got some discounting or such from your dealer. But now the lowest point to buy into Kaleidescape involves buying a Strato C, which itself is $4,000 now, and a 6TB Tera, which itself is $6,000 now. 10 grand. So from an MSRP perspective, we've gone from 6,000 to 10,000. And yeah, there's still discounting and such. And even right now, just kind of using Magnolia with published prices as a bit of a guideline, you can buy a Strato C and a 6TB Tera combo for $8,000. That's 20% off. Maybe a local dealer would give you the same or approach the same discount. But still, that's a lot of money, especially for a movie player. It just seems so counterintuitive to us, of course, or to me on the outside. I'm not looking at their books. I don't know all the details of their balance sheet and their profit and loss and their margins and so on. But just looking from the outside as a customer, and I think a lot of folks share this idea, you would think or hope or expect that broadening the base is good for any company in general, right? You want to try to add more customers, not maintain or potentially even lose. And the higher that price goes up, I think the higher the barrier is for people buying in. And losing the simplicity of being able to buy a single unit, I think that the barriers have just gotten large. So I don't have a specific idea that I could suggest in mind to how to solve it. I think it's a little uneducated or whatnot to just say, well, lower the prices. Again, I don't know the business model. I don't know the margins. They've got a plan. They're executing their plan and their vision, and it's a luxury product. And I know in marketing sense and product sense, luxury products are kind of sold independent of their price, but still, this is an item that could serve the home theater enthusiast space, the premium space, so well. People really want it. TVs are getting bigger. I mean, it's really hard to justify for somebody, I think, to spend 10 grand on a movie player when they spent 5 grand on an 85-inch, awesome, massive, like state-of-the-art, you know, OLED or whatever, or big flat panel. So there's more market. I think there's really more market that they could capture and find their way into. But the price is it's just tough. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people kind of complain about, particularly people on the outside of that price that would want to be a customer, but you know, they aren't and they can't because it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for them or whatnot. And by raising the price, you're also kind of raising the bar for the level of system overall that it needs to fit into. Again, if you're not spending 30, 40, 50, 70 grand on a home theater, dedicated home theater space, it's getting harder and harder to justify, you know, another $10,000 for a Kaleidescape. You're not going to build a $20,000 theater and spend 10 grand on one source component. If somebody's going to do that, and they're going to put that kind of money into one source component, I would suggest, or if it were me, I would be buying a projector with that money, not the video player. So number one, price of entry. We'll see how it evolves over time. It is what it is, and all we can kind of do is watch and see what happens on that one. All right, so number two is going to be a slightly compound one. We'll have a 2A and a 2B. But one of the other concerns for Kaleidescape that I would like to see addressed is that the system exists as a content island. So once upon a time, years ago, Kaleidescape was part of Ultraviolet, and Vudu and other digital storefronts were part of Ultraviolet. You could buy movies on disc and get an Ultraviolet code, and your code would port amongst a couple of different places. Then they went down and Movies Anywhere came along. Movies Anywhere has been here for a long time, although I will admit Movies Anywhere has been a little stagnant in its own right in terms of adding studios and growing its reach and such. But still, you buy content with Kaleidescape, you own content with Kaleidescape. And I'm not going to go down the road of, well, what if they go out of business or whatnot? That's a tired argument. The company's almost 20, 25 something years old. They've been through good times. They've been through some lean times. They've just stacked themselves with new management and new focus over the last couple years. I don't have that fear is not prevalent in my mind, but I still struggle with the idea of locking away my content library on a very niche, very specific type of service when I might also want to watch those movies via my Apple devices or mobilely, or in another zone, or be able to content share in the family and stuff like that. So it's tough when it's an island, and there's been a lot of desire, I know, from me and many folks, many owners, and banging the drum for K to get into Movies Anywhere. Or if we can't get into Movies Anywhere, is there something else that we can do? Maybe cut a deal with Apple, right? Cut a deal with Apple that I can buy a movie on Kaleidescape and it'll port to iTunes. Doesn't have to come the other way if that's a problem for the the cash flow and the revenue and stability of the business. But maybe it can go one way. Make it a one-way street. At least if I buy with them, let it port out, and that'll give me mobile options, and that'll give me some other options. So I really hope that this gets addressed. I think this was a really prevalent argument around discussion forums and around the owner space for a while. It's kind of died down and it's been kind of silent, but I want to ring the bell a little bit and say that I think this is still an important aspect of the system. And that flows into the 2B, which is content is getting more expensive. Everything is getting more expensive, right? Devices, cars, food, whatever. But in addition, the price of a Blu-ray package on disc is going up. The price of movies in digital storefronts is going up. Just look at the Batman or like Matrix Revolutions. And yeah, that's Warner, and Warner has a pricing problem, unfortunately, in their own right. But even on iTunes, the Batman's $29.99. That's higher than most of the pricing that Apple had been putting on their content. And then we've seen the Matrix Revolutions, we've seen the Batman hit on Kaleidescape at $39.99. $39.99 for a movie is in one platform, one niche platform, doesn't have the porting rights. I might have less of a hard time paying $40 for a piece of content if it ported, or if the Movies Anywhere connection and such was there. But I think we're going to see more of this as just the world and life and business and doing business and making things gets more expensive. That cost kind of has to flow down. And who's to blame? I don't know. We say a lot, and I say a lot too, that the studios set the pricing on their content in different stores. I hope that K has our best interests in mind, and they're trying to at least fight with these folks. But they can't. They only have so much power. They're the middle company between us and the studio. Their only other option is to go on strike and not sell the content. So if Warner's setting these prices, or Paramount or MGM setting these prices so high, K has no choice maybe but to sell them at those prices. It still sucks. It sucks as an owner. I haven't bought it yet. I have a really hard problem paying $40 for a movie. And I just bought Matrix Revolutions on sale on iTunes the other day for $9.99. 4x the price to watch that on Kaleidescape right now, with no portable rights. That's really tough. And I think the whole idea of movie rights and content prices and how it relates to each other and getting more for your money, right? Again, it's one thing to pay more for something. It's another thing when you get a lot more for what you're buying. And so, almost the same idea too for physical media. I think the RoboCop 4K edition, might be $40, or we'll see what that hits on Kaleidescape. But for a physical release, $40, you get this massive package of stuff in extras, in artwork, so yeah, if you're going to charge more, give more. That's really what it boils down to. And so whether it's Movies Anywhere, some porting rights, something needs to break in this area, I think, soon, because it's getting harder and harder to want to use it and pay those kind of prices just for those movies, like a watch once and then they kind of sit in the library. So that's number 2. So number 3, my third kind of concern with what's happened with Kaleidescape and kind of where they are right now, is that if you look back on a lot of the big things that have happened with the company maybe in the last year, or maybe even a little bit more than that, there's a lot more happening with marketing than there is with engineering. And yeah, we did get the compact Terras. That's great. It's kind of just a repackaging of some of the same stuff that they were offering. I do very much like it better, and I'm glad that that came to market. But if you look at a lot of the other big moves, right, they partnered with Trinoff, they partnered with Lutron, and there was some engineering part to that to get it connected to the lighting system. So that was nice. That was a marketing and an engineering step. But Trinoff, the Sony projector deal, the new news for spring, partnership with Keith Yates. Okay, that does nothing for me. Either as if I were a prospective owner, wouldn't do anything. As a current owner, doesn't excite me. So I don't really want to see marketing partnerships, and especially as an existing owner, yeah, you can bundle a Kaleidescape player with all these different things: projectors, processors, panels, treatments, whatever. I've already bought it, and however many tens of thousands of people have also already bought it. So let's see some innovation on the engineering side. And when I say that, let's not see engineering to have Stratos CV2 come out, right? This stuff is too expensive to be replaced at the rate that like an iPad or an iPhone or an Apple TV gets replaced. I'd buy a new Apple TV every year for $200, and I wouldn't even bat an eye. That thing added some minimal features, a faster processor, whatever it might be. But we're talking 10 grand now. So a $10,000 purchase needs to last, and it needs to grow, it needs to have features added, it needs to evolve in its own right. And if you look at what the most expensive devices in this whole home theater space do, Trinoff, right? You buy a Trinoff, you spend a lot of money on a Trinoff, you're buying a device that you're going to use for years, because they're going to add to that, they're going to build on that. JVC with their projectors, the whole NX series, it lasted multiple years in its life cycle. And what happened, right? We got dynamic HDR, frame by frame HDR. We didn't have to pay for any of that. We bought really expensive projectors, and as customers, we were absolutely delighted by the way that they were supported, features were added, capabilities was put in, and so on. So I'm ready for some massive engineering evolution, some massive engineering stuff to come out of Kaleidescape, and it better work on this existing hardware. Figure out some new compression scheme. You got the guys that can do that, right? Make my movies take up 25% less space, so that my 12 terabyte Terra, for the amount of movies it can hold today, effectively becomes a 15 terabyte or a 16 terabyte Terra. Let me get another 50 movies in that thing. That would be awesome. That would be delightful. But make it work on existing hardware. And let's evolve. This will kind of flow into number 4, but the player itself, the everything about the presentation and stuff kind of needs to evolve. So number 3, a lot of muscle, a lot of energy and effort going into marketing and partnerships and so on. Great for business, great for selling. Hopefully that's the way they're if that's the way they're going to expand the base rather than lowering the price of entry, so be it. It's a strategy. I hope it works. I hope it brings more people in. I hope the platform is massively successful. But it's time for some innovation on the engineering side that doesn't cost us another $4,000 or $10,000 in players. So number 3 will kind of feed into number 4, but and arguably as an existing owner, I have the devices sitting here. I want to use them. This is probably one of the most important for me, is the UI. It's time for the UI to seriously evolve. Kaleidescape kind of made its money, so to speak, on that movie wall and the shuffling features and so on. I don't know about you, I don't even use the shuffling feature. I put my movies in alphabetical order. But there is so much that can be done, that needs to be done on the device itself. I want to see my whole collection. I can download a movie in 8 minutes. I don't want to just see the stuff that's currently available. I want to be able to see everything so I can click and grab it, walk and grab some popcorn and come back, and there we go. I want to be able to put my movies into collections, not just the ones that are currently loaded on the device, but all of my movies in collections. I want to see Kaleidescape put my movies into collections, right? And the big movie wall, put the Star Wars movies together, put the Indiana Jones movies together, and make that an option. The playback UI itself, I'm tired of fast forwarding at the end of a movie, trying to find the little clip at the end of the Marvel, in the credits scene, and I get 3 arrows in the upper right hand corner of my fast forward, but I don't know where I'm at. I blow right past the scene, and then the movie ends, and boom, I'm back to the menu. Now I got to go back in. There are so many just quality of life things, improvements, in really kind of what they need is Kaleidescape UI 2.0. Honestly, like that's what, in my opinion, the company should be working towards. Let's get some higher resolution cover art going. Just so many things. The UI is very card based. It's very text based. Whereas you look at something like Infuse, I look at the way Infuse looks and works and presents on my iPad or on my Apple TV, and I just think like, wow, like this feels newer, it feels fresher, it feels contemporary. It feels like a movie library. It's not just a movie wall with a couple of panels and flyout panels and stuff that are kind of behind it. And everything from the littlest stuff, like let me see the Rotten Tomatoes and Common Sense icons in scores and in information in the library cards, not just in the store. There's like so many simple things, and I feel like I fed back a lot of ideas for years, and they've kind of, those things haven't been what they've done. That's not to say that they haven't done a lot, and this isn't a huge company. They don't have unlimited resources. I'm a software development manager. I run a team of several people around the globe trying to make stuff, and I tell people no. I tell my field engineers no. I tell my customers no all the time. Yeah, we just can't build that right now. We've got some other things happening over here. This is what our strategy is. It's very hard to pivot and change and just meet every demand and stuff. I understand all of those concepts, but that said, in this case, I'm a customer, I'm an owner. I want to see some things. I want to be delighted. When I turn on my device, I want to see some updates come, and I want to be delighted by the way it works, the way it's changing, the way it's improving, and so on. So that's my number 4, and I think there's a whole lot that could be done there. So then number 5 is my 5th concern for Kaleidescape would have to do with kind of content availability, and that kind of folds into an idea of competition. So what do I find myself watching the most often recently? I'm watching Netflix exclusive content. I'm watching Disney Plus exclusive content. I'm watching some stuff on HBO Max. Kaleidescape is where I go for Hollywood blockbuster movie, best quality in my theater, and all that kind of stuff. But really, the majority of my watch time, it's just not that. We're watching Cobra Kai right now, and I actually find myself personally just watching more TV series type content than movie type content in the recent past. But in any case, we need some more. It's been a while since we've had a big content expansion. And the other thing that we're kind of seeing is like there's a massive rush of movies coming to physical media now. I almost feel like 4K discs are having a bit of a resurgence, an accelerated resurgence coming out of COVID. Every day I open my Twitter feed, I feel like, and there's 1 or 2 new disc releases. And a lot of the production of 4K assets going into physical media is kind of like consolidated into like boutique processing houses and companies. You got companies like Criterion and others picking up the rights to stuff. And if those companies get those rights and they get those high quality assets, I don't know that it's always a slam dunk that those assets will also come to Kaleidescape. So things are moving in process workflows that they might not actually find their way into K. We've got more and more really nice content being released as streaming service exclusives. So, could they cut some deals with Netflix and cut some more direct deals with HBO Max and Disney and get those movies, get that content onto this system right away? I don't think that will affect subscribers too much if a person needs to also additionally buy, in addition to having their subscription, be able to buy content. But some of us we would want it in the higher quality, depending on the price and whatnot, of course. But yeah, I think it's time for some really big content expansion. There's a lot of great anime, Crunchyroll and Funimation and Sony. There's been a lot of merging and stuff there, so Kay has inroads with Sony to be able to go after a wider swath of animation and anime. There's just, Criterion itself and all the stuff that they hold. There's a whole lot more to get for the store in terms of growing its expanse and growing its level of completeness. Things are getting locked away in services. What does that mean? So, if we want partnerships, that's the kind of partnerships that I want to see. I don't need a partnership with Trinoff, but I want to see a partnership with Criterion to bring the content to the store in other places and keep that pipe, right? Keep that funnel moving with new stuff, coming in like every week. That's my 5 thoughts of concerns that I have about kind of Kaleidescape, the business, and as an owner and as a customer, and what I would like to see kind of done in different places along those lines. So thanks so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Look down in the description for some ways to support the channel, and come on back for a whole lot more home theater oriented and other tech content. Thanks.